All right, I think I will begin. My name is Peg Shoemaker. I am the proud principal of Middleton High School, and I have a team of people here I want you to be introduced to. We will wait around after the presentation if you have individual questions for us regarding the Act 95 Direct Admit the law and kind of the programming around it and what it will look like at Middleton High School. So first I have Jill Gertner. Jill is the principal at Clark Street Community School. She also is an associate principal at Middleton High School. Also Carmen Classy, and Carmen is an associate principal here. Bobby Reinhardt, associate principal. Liz Merrick, associate principal. And Dr. Jan Chenoweth, who is our secondary director of teaching and learning. We have all had a part in being learners around this particular law, as well as developing how it will look at Middleton High School. Middleton has some unique characteristics that we'll maybe talk about a little bit later, but really what we want you to do is to leave here with a little bit more information than you had when you came in. There are lots and lots of things around this. This sort of came to educators without much advance warning at all, and we have been kind of left to interpret and the law and to provide our students with the best possible understanding and advantage of this particular law. So that is our goal for the evening. Like I said, we won't take individual questions from the crowd because they're individual, but we will stay here after. If you have particular questions, we're more than happy to answer them, and if we don't know, we will definitely get back to you. So this is a new law. It was passed last February 2024, and so this is all new. If you've never heard of this before, you're not alone because this is brand new. Here's the background. So last February, Governor Evers signed into law the guaranteed admissions, and what this legislative sought to do is to increase enrollment in our Wisconsin universities with our own Wisconsin students. And so it's called the Guaranteed Admission Program. To be perfectly honest, it's been called lots of different things. And so it's complex in terms of understanding all of the nuances. But under the law, under this program, high school students graduating in the top 5 or 10% of their class, depending on the institution, will be guaranteed admission to participating universities. So that's sort of the essence. I'm going to talk a little bit again. It's designed to really simplify the process. Like, how can we simplify, especially for high-achieving Wisconsin students, how can we simplify the criteria and how can they guarantee admissions? And so that's what this is about. I don't think I mentioned that we're recording this. I'll also be sending this out to everyone, so you'll be able to go back as well and look. So there's 2 parts of the program that I want you to know about. The first is Direct Admit. And based on the review of like a student's academic performance, including their grades, coursework, sometimes standardized test scores, it guarantees early admission into specific UW schools. With this, it removes like the traditional application process. Participating schools automatically admit eligible students. I talked to a parent, and their student just received a letter that they were admitted into UW Stevens Point. So you are automatically admitted, and we have what's called you have to opt out. Otherwise, we submit all of the names. Now, Wisconsin Guarantee is quite different, and that is referred to as Act 95. So it's primarily based on high school class rank. And so the top 5% for UW-Madison and the top 10% for other UW schools. Not all UW schools participate in this. Where we have had the most obvious keen interest is how can my student be admitted automatically into the UW system? And what I hope to do tonight is to show you, I hope to reduce the kind of amount of stress, if you will, around that. Students do have to apply to get into Act 95, and you're not necessarily guaranteed any admission into a particular program. So they're completely different application processes. Again, I sort of talked about this. In direct admit, the student receives notification of certain UW systems in the summer after their junior year. The student doesn't need to complete the application. They simply need to accept the offer if that's where they want to go. So it could be any UW school, and they will get notice, hey, you were admitted into UW Whitewater. Now, a student may not want to go there, but they do have that opportunity to automatically be admitted. So that's a real advantage, and you can see why Evers was thinking we need more of our own Wisconsin kiddos in our university systems. Now, again, the Wisconsin Guarantee, the Act 95, the admission process is quite different. Students are notified of being in the top 5 or 10% in their class in the summer after their junior year. So if you have a current junior, they will be notified if they are in the top 5% or 10%. Keep in mind, the only way that we have to do that, because we have so many, Middleton is a high-performing district, and because of this particular law in this particular system, we needed to rank. And the way that we chose to rank for this year, I'll get into that in a little bit, is weighting every advanced placement course as weighted as a 5 instead of a 4. So the student has to apply. They have to pay the application fee to UW-Madison, UW-Eau Claire, or UW-La Crosse by the deadline that the school determines. The transcript will indicate at the top of their transcript, top 5% or top 10%. And so that's you can see the difference. Direct admit, you're just notified, yep, I'm in this other UW schools where Wisconsin Guarantee is a little bit different. You actually do have to apply. Now, here's what I want to tell you about what I hope lowers some of the angst around this. In this current year, current seniors, we had 190 students be admitted to UW-Madison. 190. We had 110 go. So just because you're admitted, you don't necessarily go. But the number of students in the top 5% is 30 because of the class size. So you can take 5%. Now, so think about it. 30 kids get the guarantee, but 190 kids, that's a third of our senior class, was admitted to UW-Madison. So if your kiddo or you have this dream about UW-Madison, just hold on and think about. I mean, if that's important to you, that you're in that top 30, that's one thing. But it isn't the only way that you're going to get into UW-Madison. That's what I want to give to you. That can hopefully reduce the stress on our kids. Now, we have it here in a chart. Here's all of the 600 kids. And this is the top 5%, 30 kids. This is all of the kids last year that were got admissions to UW-Madison. So you can see between these charts the difference and how, if that's the dream school, there's other ways of getting in without being frenzied and stressing your kids out about taking every single AP class there is known to man. So, why did we do the weighting of AP? So, we had to do this. We didn't want to do it, to be perfectly honest, but we had to, because we have to determine the top 5%. And the only way that we could do that, because we have so many amazing, excelling kids at our school, the only way we could do it was to be able to do add something to the weighting. Advanced placement courses are obviously universally recognized for students to be able, to accomplish this. That's why we're choosing now to do that for this year. We don't really know what that impact would be, but every counselor in this space would say to you, be thoughtful about what you're registering for, and think about what kind of life you want to have, what your passions are, what your interests are, and go for that. So I've asked Jill, Dr. Gertner, to come, before that, sorry. So we sent out like a questionnaire ahead of time, like what kind of questions, and we got this question, like why aren't we including other college credit courses? And we really, so look at all of the dual credit courses. We've got UW Stout, Oshkosh, Madison College, etc. And so we would really need to come up with a standard, a predetermined standard about which courses would we engage in, which would we not. We're starting with AP, we're seeing what the impact is of that, and then kind of going from there. Now I'm going to have Jill come up.
Good evening, everyone. I am Jill Gertner. I am the principal at Clark Street, and I also am a parent of a graduating senior, and both my children, one has already graduated, have gone through our system. So for me, the kind of short version here is, because of this really well-intentioned law, we had to come up with a way for us to distinguish students so that we could, using grade point average only, distinguish a 5% and a 10%. We had too many students within that same grade point average range, and so we had to distinguish in some way. So this is a really well-intentioned law that really only impacts 3 universities within our state, and honestly, really doesn't impact our students at all because so many of them were already getting in. And because of that, we know, based on your questions, based on conversations you're probably having with your children, I'm having with my children, right? That changing of how we do grading and changing of how we do a GPA has impacts for students about how they make choices about courses. And that's why we want you to have good information about what do college admissions offices really look at. I think one of the first pieces for you to understand, as I've worked with Clark Street, we have a very different transcript, so I've had the opportunity to talk with a lot of admissions counselors over the last decade. What they will tell you is that when they take in transcripts from around the country, they are all over the place as far as how their ranking system works. Some of them have 5-point scales, some of them have 20-point scales, some of them have 4-point scales, and what they consistently do is move those all back to a 4-point scale. They get rid of all of that weighting as students come in, and virtually all of the admissions officers are now using what they call a holistic review process. And what that means is that they take a look at what's our mission as a school? What's the population of students that we want to have at this university? And then in order to figure out, is this the right fit, they're looking at all of the applications. Rather than looking at grade point averages, they're looking at the rigor of the coursework that students took. So does taking AP courses matter? Absolutely. Should students be taking so many AP classes that they're burnt out and can't function anymore? Absolutely not. Students should be finding their way of where do I push myself in the right way for me, because there is a space in a college and university for every single student that graduates from Middleton High School. And the goal is, how do they get the best fit? And what the college admissions officers will tell you is that that's what they're looking for too. Now, not every student can get in. When colleges and admissions officers have 5% acceptance rates and they have 90% of their applicants who are qualified to get in, they're still having to make very, very difficult choices. But they're making them on things that are much, much broader and richer than the grade point average. So I know it is really hard to talk to a teenager about these things when they are sure that they have all of the information from their students and their peers around them, and they must take all of the AP classes, but we wanted to give you some actual information about what's out there. So these are the things that college admissions counselors are looking at. They're looking at, what has the student done during high school? What's the rich experience that they've had during high school? It should, if they want to go to a highly competitive school, include some academic rigor. It also should include other interests. And they will be looking for that, and they'll be looking for a class that brings in the best fit into that college or university. They're going to look at things that are academic and not academic. They're going to look at the essays that they've written and the story that they're telling and the many other talents. As you probably walked around, and those of you that are, have been here for a while know that this high school offers an incredible amount of diversity of opportunities for students. So what certifications have students already earned? Because they can earn them before they've left high school. What are the clubs, the activities, the leadership opportunities that they've been in? So the message is, please, don't let your child convince you that they need to take all of the AP classes because they need to get as high a GPA as they possibly can. That is one very small factor in what will be considered. And as it applies to UW-Madison admissions, as you can see from the numbers, it's really a non-issue. So yes, we will have AP classes that are weighted. Yes, that will impact GPA, but as they're working to figure out what they need to do in order to get to college, these are the things that they should be looking at, and they should be looking to create a much richer profile than simply taking all of the AP classes, because we want them to leave us healthy, happy, and really ready to take on the challenges that they will face at college.
So again, kind of wrapping it up, a reminder that obviously colleges look at the whole student, that we want our students to have the opportunity to act upon the passions that they have, and then to align the courses with those passions and interests. And again, if UW-Madison is the dream school, there's lots of ways to do it, and not to get really, really worked up about this top 5%. So we are going to hang out. That's kind of our presentation. We will all hang out. We'll be right up here. You can come and talk with us if you have individual questions. And just thanks for coming and being part of it. I will send this out in the mail so you can re-look at it again. Thank you so much.